Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Coffee with Regina. Today, I have my friend Mary Topalovic. Did I say that right?
Topalovic.
Topalovic. All right, so I totally messed that up.
It's fine. It's fine.
What nationality is that?
Slovenia.
Slovenia. Okay, so
Yeah.
Topalovic. Okay.
Topalovic.
All right. Well, you know what?
It's fine.
We'll
It's
just move.
fine. That's why I just keep it at Mary. That's it.
I understand.
Yeah.
Let me tell you all about Mary. So, Mary specializes in driving brand awareness, ramping up follower engagement, which we all need, right? And cultivating strong customer relationships to build thriving online communities. And don't we all need that? Now, over the years, she's worked with multiple international best-selling authors, Fortune 500 sales executives, keynote speakers, featured on CBS, NBC, Fox, and Chicken Soup for the Soul for all of my Jack Canfield friends out there, and other leadership visionaries. She thrives on staying ahead of the curve, continuously updating her skills to keep pace with the ever-evolving, we know this, social media landscape and those fun algorithm changes. So welcome, Mary.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me here today. I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm so excited to chat about all of that stuff with you because, it's so important with branding and everything. But before we get into that, I have to ask you something because I'm actually a certified Jack Canfield trainer,
Mm-hmm.
and you put chicken soup for the soul in there. What
Mm-hmm.
did you do with them?
So one of the authors that was in one of those Chicken Soup for the Souls books, she's been a client of mine. Yeah.
So you help authors and other
Mhm.
people with their
Yeah.
branding and getting
She's not
awareness.
just an author, she's actually a business coach, specializing in public speaking and stuff. She did write one chapter in those books. So, yeah, I've worked with her as well.
Excellent, excellent.
Mhm.
I have a lot of Jack Canfield fans in
Oh,
my
aren't we
audience. So,
all? I love those books too. I do. Yeah.
so branding and
Mhm.
everything is about branding because
Mm.
let me ask you in your words, what is
Mhm.
branding?
Branding is just business or personal identity. It just kind of sets you apart and it showcases who you are with all from like the colors, from content, from fonts, from the whole marketing understanding behind all of that. It just kind of becomes this visual representation, not just visual, also like it targets other senses as well, but it mostly is visual representation of your business, of your either it's personal or public or yeah.
So that goes with anything. So whether
Mhm.
it's your profile on social media,
Yeah.
your website, lead magnets that you're creating,
Mhm.
anything that you're handing out,
Mhm.
if you're doing webinars, how you package those and put
Yeah.
your branding around it. So it kind of incorporates just everything.
It really does, yeah. And it's important to do incorporate all of those bits and make it all congruent and connected. So that's also a big part of branding, so that a lot of the elements that we do have for a business, that they at the end of the day kind of make sense from an audience standpoint, that they all connect and make sense in terms of like your brand is that one voice and one visual like overall. So yeah, it's important. That's a big part of branding, so you don't change it up every now and then once you see something that's pretty outside, but you actually stick to your identity.
So let me ask you this. We'll reverse that and say, so what happens when you don't stick with that?
Yeah, well, branding has been proven to work in marketing, to drive sales, to build trust, to build recognition, and over long periods of time to build this stable business and income. So, on the opposite side of that is obviously businesses who are struggling, right? People who don't know why they're not reaching their audience or don't have good returns on investment when they put something out. Why aren't they buying? Why isn't this landing? And a lot of those things come down to tweaking not just the marketing message, not just the offer, because offer might be great, but maybe they came from what they know of you, landed on somewhere where you kind of took them, but it's so different to who they know you as that it just confuses them, and then they just drop off just because it's giving them that reaction of like, nope, that's suspicious, So we are very careful about, especially nowadays with online businesses and everything, people get really like frightened by sudden changes. They can sometimes, like with branding, they can't even pinpoint it. They just are like giving that like spook almost, and they, if you ask them, they will be like, I'm not sure what, it just doesn't feel right. And that feel right comes down to branding, to that congruency, to that cohesive image of what they have of you. So sometimes I do encounter businesses who have great offers, who have been doing amazing over the years, but now when they try to do something new, offer a new product or a new service, it's not landing and they don't know why. And then I look at their funnel and it's just so different to what people are used to seeing from them that it just spooks people away.
So it
Right.
makes people nervous because they're like, is this the same person, or what are
Right.
they doing now? Did they just
Right.
stop doing what they're doing and move to something else?
Yeah. Yeah. Like the biggest brands in the world have that recognition. You can almost recognize it from miles away, right? And immediately if it's not right. A purple Coca-Cola wouldn't make much sense, right? People would be
Right.
like, nah, that's fake. So we do kind of build that trust in that one visual that we are given, and there are definitely points where it evolves and changes, but the changes that they do are not so far-fetched and not so sudden. So that's why they still work and are able to evolve with time, because they implement these changes slowly but surely, right? So that they give people enough time to get used to it.
Right. And it was funny that you said Coca-Cola, because that was exactly what I was thinking when you mentioned that. The
Yeah.
first company that popped into my head was Coca-Cola.
Yeah, they're
And
one of the best examples. What they've done, and to think of it that it's just like a drink. It's not something that's changing the world massively. It's literally like just one drink. There's hundreds, millions of drinks out there, but why are they still standing strong? We know it's not healthy. We know it's not like, the best for us, and yet we continue to put them on this branding pedestal.
yeah, it's that's so true. And their marketing is genius, right? And so when you think about how they do their marketing, now obviously they're a massive,
Absolutely.
billion-dollar corporation, but even the small guy that's out there doing their
Mhm.
marketing
Mhm.
can, take tips from them and
Mhm.
how they're doing their marketing to
Mhm.
be consistent with what you're doing out there, right?
Yeah. Well, think about it as well. Like Coca-Cola didn't start off with who they are now. They started somewhere as well. Like it wasn't probably as big and elaborate as it is now. Maybe it wasn't like with $5 in their pocket. Maybe they did have a bit more backing. I'm not quite sure of the story, but it wasn't billions. It wasn't what they are now. So they built it as well. However it came to be, they pretty much like 10x whatever they have been doing in the beginning, so that other brands like Adidas, Puma, Nike, all of these big brands, they started somewhere as well. And it really does come down to understanding the branding side of it, marketing.
Yeah,
um,
and they are such big brands, and when you think about it, sometimes the solopreneurs or the small business folks that
mhm.
are out there, that are the smaller people that are smaller is in terms of size
Yeah.
of business. They're looking at their marketing, going, okay, well, I'm not Coca-Cola, I'm not Adidas, I'm not Nike, so I'm going to do it like this, and I'm going to switch things around. Well, the
Mhm.
thing is that you could grow bigger, who knows? And that branding actually helps for many, many things,
Mhm.
including legacy businesses. So think about a business that you're building to actually sell.
Mm.
Having that branding in place is a huge piece if you're thinking about building something that you can later sell.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I would even argue to say, like, if you're a small business owner, it's even more important to have these things in place, just because you're competing with a lot of different people out there. So if you can nail this bit down, it will help you loads, to position yourself as an expert, to position yourself as, unique, original, to position yourself as being recognizable instantly, it's actually like a big plus if you do nail it.
You must be reading my mind because you keep saying the words that are going through my head, and that word unique. So we're all about being unique around here.
Mhm.
And so with that in mind, and all of the different there's billions of companies out there. How do you create something unique?
Well, the best way to do it is to tap into who you are, because that immediately makes you unique. So it's really just comes down to understanding what makes you you. There might be similar people out there for sure. Yeah, like there are certain amount of personality types out there. Like there's A type, there's this, there's that. We can categorize ourselves even like based on where we live, based on all sorts of things. But if you really just you do have that unique mixture of experiences, of things you learn throughout the life, in terms of like what you're interested in, what you like. When you really just pull all of those things together and acknowledge them as important in building your brand and who you are, that's what makes you stand out. So if you can really own who you are, and this is something I teach my students and my clients as well, is there's no point in trying to figure out who you want to be. Like, you already are someone. If you just hone in onto that, like if you honor yourself, there are people in your life who love you exactly as you are. If you just own that and just lean into it, that already is enough, and it is great, and it is unique. So if you can just kind of like sit down and write those things down, what makes me me, what are my, my pluses and what are my cons, just make a whole list about yourself, who you are, and just lean into it. That already makes you stand out, because there's
Yeah,
not.
so what I'm hearing is that's probably what you do with your clients. Is the first thing you need to do is decide, is to define who are you,
Mhm.
because you can't really help them create their branding until you know that information. Because I do
Absolutely.
see a lot of business people out there, and they'll, and I did it myself, but I had an idea of what I wanted. But we'll
Hmm.
go to places like Fiverr and
Hmm.
say, yeah, I'm looking to create a logo. Now, I was very specific, and
Hmm.
being the unicorn that I am, I already pulled out that unique stuff of what I was looking for, so I could be very clear.
Hmm.
But a lot of people aren't that clear about what they want, and they're just like, okay, well, I kind of want something that looks like this, that looks like that. And you can actually spend a lot of money with people, and even on Fiverr, where you can get stuff cheap, you can spend
Yeah.
a lot of money trying to come up with some branding that just falls flat and doesn't work.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I spend a lot of time with anyone who I take on, especially if they are looking for like a branding guidelines. If they are not coming to me just for social media, usually they do have that laid out already, and we just follow them or maybe tweak it. But if they come to me in terms of like wanting branding identity and guidelines, it really does take a bit of time to dive into them and dig deep, to ask certain questions, to see what they like and why they like it. Because there is a difference in like, oh, I like something, why do you like it? Oh, because I saw it, or because it's like, oh, because I actually like have everything in my house in that color, I actually wear it all the time, I love it. There's a difference between what they think they should like based on what they see out there, which is like a flood of marketing material, or if they really resonate with it and actually like it, so that they can actually run with it. Because the thing is, even if they do choose what they see outside flooding, and they're like, oh, in my industry usually people use blue, if you don't like blue, you're not going to enjoy your brand. And what's the point of that? you know what's the point of you not liking your business? Like, what are we doing then? Because we should have a good mixture between like what seems to be working from psychological standpoint in the market, and what you actually like and who you actually are. It should be a good solid mix between the two. It shouldn't be just one or the other. So it should be like a good combination. And that's where we dive into like research, and then researching the person who runs the business as well.
It was funny because you used the word resonate. So if it doesn't resonate with you, we talk about energy a lot here. And when it comes to energy, when you
Yeah.
have something that doesn't resonate, so if you create a brand and it's like, well, that's what everybody's going with out there.
Mhm.
In technology, blue is a big color.
Yeah.
So a lot of people use blue on a website or whatever if
Mhm.
they're doing any kind of technology stuff because it just seems to be the tech
Mhm.
color. But if you don't like blue, and you're looking at that logo every day, you're looking at your marketing materials, you're looking at all your stuff, and it doesn't resonate with you, you're already bouncing up against bad energy because it's something you don't want. And why
Yeah.
would you do that? Why would you create something that doesn't resonate with you?
Mhm.
You want it all to be cohesive. You want what you do, how you do it to be shown in a way and displayed in a way with your brand that fits you and your unique self.
Yeah.
My unicorn factor was born of the fact that I've been collecting unicorns since I was 16 years old. I've been a,
Oh, I
I've
love
been a
that.
unicorn for years. So it is part of my identity. And
Mhm.
that was where that actually was born from originally, because I said,
Mhm.
that's what it is. When I started creating the methodology, I was like, that's it. It's the
Mhm.
unicorn factor. It made sense for me. It might not make sense for somebody else because they aren't into that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
For me, it made perfect sense. So when people are thinking about creating their brands, where is, other than they got to find that unique piece of themselves, what is the next step that they have to do? Who do they need to find to create this brand for them? Because there's a lot of people doing branding out there,
Yeah.
and I'm just gonna say it. There's a lot of people doing it wrong because I see
Yeah.
some of the results, and I'm like, okay, so maybe you could have used a different person. So
Mhm.
how do you know who is a good person to work with when it comes to branding?
Oh gosh. I don't know who isn't good to work with, but I can give some pointers of who I would suggest. It's people
I'm,
who
I'm not look,
actually
I'm not looking for names. I'm looking for
yeah,
ideas
yeah,
of
yeah,
like
I know. But
the
it's
type
like
of people they
someone who
are.
actually cares enough to ask questions before they actually offer something. That would be my big green flag if you're looking for someone. It's not just like, oh, yeah, I'll do it. Because, like, what are you doing it based off of if you haven't asked questions? Like, that's like a first sign of like, nah, might not be the best, right? So you do want someone to actually sit down and take the time to study you, do the research, and just prepare some templates, prepare some examples so that you can have a look at it. Like, branding can be a really extensive process. So I myself, like, I don't like it too short, I don't like it too long, so I'm just kind of like somewhere in the middle, trying to nail it down as much as I can, also on based on not just what my client tells me, but also like how I see them react to certain things emotionally. I pay attention to those things as well on video, just to kind of like feel the grounds and how they speak, what their tone is, like what their how they communicate with me, because that's something you can't just completely change overnight. So if your sound, your voice on your website and your social is completely different than what it is once they meet you, that's off-putting. That's like a whole shift, right? That people, they might not even realize. They're just like, I don't like it. And it might not be even wrong or right. It's just different than what they saw like up front. So trying to nail that down as much as I can, because I know that people do work with people. So it's important to represent them as much as I see them, feel them, hear them, is important. So I would say, like, whenever you're looking for someone, definitely pay attention to what type of questions are they asking, um, are they diving deep? Do they really care enough to to pick your brain on it? Do they really care about like why you started this? What are you doing? Like, what things are you doing in your free time? What things do you wear on a daily basis? Like, all of those things kind of come into play, because it can together all come and create this brand idea and identity that matters. So I would say that's probably the biggest one. Obviously, nowadays it's kind of difficult to distinguish like who is good and who isn't, but it does come down to, I think that's like the first telltale sign. Like, did they even ask a question, or they were just like, "Hey, $5, that's fine. I'll and send something over." Like, that's probably not something to go for. So yeah, it's also like it's also like the whole communication part, that's a big one for me. I do prefer to communicate with my clients. I do prefer to really take the time. So yeah, it just reiterates what I said. Are they even asking you things about your business? That's probably the big one.
Yeah, and that's perfect, because that's
Mhm.
kind of what I was looking for. I have some
Yeah.
examples of my own from the past. My very first company was a computer company. It was a computer
Okay.
repair company called Computing Made Simple. And when I had that company, I had never, that was my first foray. I left corporate world and became an entrepreneur, and I had never even thought about branding before.
Mhm.
And so I went out looking for people, somebody to create something. And that is exactly what I got. The very first thing that I got was, oh, you're a computer company. Okay, I'll make something for you. And
Mm.
they never asked me one question. They didn't ask me anything about the business. And they came back with all this stuff. And I was like, okay, that is not what I'm looking for at all.
Mm.
And then I started asking some questions, and they kept coming back with stuff I wasn't looking for, because they were basically on their own agenda going, oh,
Mm.
she's a computer company. She does this, she does that.
Yeah.
So this is what I'm going to create. And I was like, this is not what I'm looking for. I literally had to leave them and go find somebody else because they would not listen to me.
Yeah, yeah, it's a big part. Even in the social media, once I create content for my clients, it's important to mostly listen and absorb, and pay attention to what they're actually asking. So I think like that's not just in branding. I think like overall business, it's how it should be. Like you should listen to your client, like business 101, isn't it?
Radical idea, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
let's switch gears a little bit and go to the
Mhm,
social media stuff. So
mhm,
you help people with their followings and everything else on social media. Tell us how
mhm.
you do that.
So I create content based on what my clients and I agree to. Like we lay it out in terms of like what their plan is, what their offers are, what we need to drive sales to, what are we focusing on, which metric are we focusing on. And yeah, I just create content. Sometimes I even shoot content, depends on what the requests are. I go to them and we shoot content together. So yeah, it's also like posting, researching trends, researching what in their industry works, how to make it our own, how to put our own unique twist on it, what people are looking for, what people need answered. It's also very important to do a research, not just give them what you think they want, but also actually putting the time into research what they even want. What does your audience want? Give them what they want, right? So yeah, just create the whole creation process. I enjoy that. So it comes from the strategy, and sometimes like that's why like I started with social media and then I came into it, and then I saw like I actually need some branding ideas here. I actually need some branding knowledge to be able to pull it off, so that whatever they have on their website or their socials or their photo shoots, like to coordinate all of that and transfer it onto social media, I have to understand the branding. So that's why I went deep dive into branding after, because I've noticed like I can't really do even just social without that knowledge. I can't just do something else on social. It has to be all connected. It has to all make sense, right? So yeah.
Yeah, it has to be a cohesive set of information, because if you're
Yes.
creating stuff on social media and then their website has a completely different message, then that's not
Yeah.
going to work either. So yeah,
Absolutely.
that's totally important for that. And if you see me looking over here, that's because my Facebook screen is up on another
Okay.
screen, and there's folks out in the Facebook group making comments right now. So
Oh,
for all my folks
good.
that are out there on Facebook right now, I just can't respond to the comments out there, because I need to talk to Mary here, and we're on a
It's
different
fine. It's
screen.
fine.
So we will talk and answer all of your questions afterwards in the
Yeah.
Facebook group. So while we still have some time here,
Mhm.
I know it says you work on brand awareness, ramping up
Mhm.
following. All right, let me ask you this question. So say you come up with a business owner that
Mhm.
is saying, I just can't seem to get in front of the right audience.
Mhm.
So I'm out on social media and nobody's engaging with my stuff,
Hmm.
and I don't know why. I think it's good stuff, but I don't know if I'm getting in front of the right people. Now you talked
Hmm.
about followers and stuff. What do you tell people about that?
So obviously, followers and the engagement bit are two different things. So with engagement, I would say if people aren't engaging with your account and your posts, are you engaging with theirs?
Mm, good
Do you
question.
just post and ghost? Do you
I
just
love that, post and ghost.
Like, that's my main question. That's my first question. Do you even spend time on your social media? Why would someone else spend time on your social media if you don't?
Right.
You have
Like
to
that.
be social on social media, like, especially if you're doing it organically, like, you have to be on it as well. It's not enough to just post and check in 3 days later.
So then, that being said,
Mm.
tell people. I know what it does, but let's
Mhm.
hear in your words. So when you post and ghost and do that kind of stuff, what does that do for your algorithm?
Yeah, thanks it. It's not gonna happen. Like, Instagram and Facebook over the last few years have been really narrowing down how much people see your stuff. They're pretty much like running on a business model of pay to play. And for anyone who's doing it organically, it just means like it's not impossible to do it, definitely not, but it just means like you have to put some extra effort into it now. Like, the algorithm is making it more and more challenging. So rather than doing less, you should actually do a bit more if you want to even break through organically. There are people who are posting 3 times per day, 6 7 times per week, because they know how important it is to actually show up and how important it is to spend time on there. So if you post like one post every 2 weeks and then you're like, why is my engagement not there? I'm telling you, it's never going to be there. It's just not coming. If that's your game plan for social media, it's not coming.
And it's not because people don't like your stuff. They're just
No, it's not. No one
they're
sees
not
it.
seeing it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no one sees it. Even if they do see it, like, yeah, maybe they will like it, but maybe they won't. So, if Instagram shows it to 5 people, maybe one will like it and that's about it. But if you increase your chances of how many people see it, the more people see it, the more people can like it and engage with it. And to reach more people is, yes, the quality of content is definitely important, but also, how are you on there? Are you even spending time on your social media? Do you even comment and like and follow and engage with people in your DMs? Do you even put the effort in to show up on your stories, for example, on Instagram? Do you even care? And if you don't, why do you expect others to care?
Right.
Right? So that's
Right.
the engagement bit. The followers bit obviously is a tiny bit different. It really does come down, yes, with consistency and engagement, that definitely helps, but also with understanding the metrics, which are important at the minute. I specialize in Instagram, so I would say at the moment the most important two are saves and shares. So if you create content that's shareable and people actually save it to come back to it, so it's so valuable that they are actually like, oh, I have to save it for later, then that does increase your reach and potentially followers. It also comes down to studying what's currently working on those platforms. Yes, trends are amazing. Dancing is amazing. I don't do it much myself. I don't at all on Instagram. I don't even do anything on TikTok, to be honest, myself. I do it for my clients. I can guide them and definitely do the work for them, in helping them navigate those waters. But it's not necessarily just dancing and just doing random stupid things on social. Like, that does get attention, but it's not it. So you have to find what's actually trending and what you can actually work with and how to recreate it in your own way, and pay attention to your insights, see what people are actually liking, see what people are responding to, and then just double down on that. And really, even if it works really well organically, after a day or two, even just put an injection in, like maybe boost it for $5 and just like even speed it up a tiny bit, push it a bit as well.
So what does that do when you say you boost something? When you
Mhm.
boost something for $5, what
Mhm.
what happens?
It helps reach a wider audience. Like I said, it's like an ad, but it's in a less money, so it doesn't have to be thousands. I grow clients' accounts all time with just like putting $10, $5. Like, at the end of the month, they can like total put like $50. It doesn't even have to be huge, but even those $50 drive it just enough so that it's moving forward. And then once it hits that momentum, it starts picking up on its own as well. So if you can just boost it every now and then, give it a tiny bit of a push on the content that is proven to work organically before you actually boost it, it does help push it out a bit more, and it does sustain you in reaching more people even at some point. Then when you're not boosting, it does help to just even get more eyes. Just it kind of keeps up, it kind of keeps going up. So yeah, it's important. Like I said, they do kind of like work on the mantra of pay to play. So it doesn't have to be thousands, but if you can just put tiny bit into it and count it as your business expense, then it can be worth it. I've seen great results with people just doing like $100 per month, and that's pretty much like the smallest that you can do, and that's like $5 every now and then. So yeah, it doesn't have to be big. That's also like one of those myths out there. Like if someone mentions ads, God forbid, it's like thousands immediately. And I'm always saying like, no, $5 is enough, $10 is enough. Skip your coffee for a day, put it into your business, and stuff can happen.
Right. So let me ask you this. Just we're running out of time here, and
Yeah.
I want to make sure we talk about how to connect with you too. But before we get to that, regarding the boosts,
Yeah.
what if you have a private Facebook group for your audience?
Mm-hmm.
Can you boost posts in there out because it's a private group? So
No,
how do you
no.
bring people into your private group? How do you get more members into your community?
Well, there are different ways. I don't think you can boost any posts in the Facebook group that's a private one, definitely not. But yeah, there are different ways, start sharing your stuff, like start being in podcasts, start posting on your socials about it, start sending out emails, start connecting with people who have a bigger email list. These are all organic ways. Create videos, create posts about it, post in other groups if they allow it to join, stuff like that. So there are quite a lot of like creative ways to get people into your group. Collaboration is a big one. If you're starting off, if you're like doing organic stuff, then can start connecting with people where it's mutually beneficial for the both of you to have, connecting you with someone else, with an expert. Stuff like that helps to reach wider audience and then potentially invite them into your side of digital space for sure. Yeah.
All right, that this has been a ton of fabulous information for the audience. So tell
Thank
me,
you.
I put something on the screen here.
Yeah.
Tell me how folks get a hold of you and start chatting you up in case they want to work with you.
Yeah. So I mostly spend my efforts for my business. Like I manage a lot of like business accounts for my clients. So I try not to spread myself too thin. So my main platform where I do enjoy it the most is Instagram. So if you follow me there, Soul Connected Brand. The same name is for my website, but you can find all the details and how to contact me through my Instagram. I have a link in my bio. You can drop me a message. Yeah.
So right there, it's Soul Connected Brand.
Mm-hmm.
I really like that name, Soul Connected
Thank
Brand.
you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that definitely speaks to me. So I'm gonna make sure that I'm connected to all of your stuff out there too. So
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it.
yeah, so thank you so much for being here
Yeah.
and dropping all these great little tips for everybody regarding branding and your social media connections. So
Mm-hmm.
this has been fabulous. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you for having me. I hope this was helpful. And yeah, if anyone has any questions, feel free to reach out. And, I'm more than happy to answer. And who knows,
Yeah,
maybe even come another time.
we'll make sure that you're connected into the Stand Out and Succeed private group. That's my private
Yeah.
group because that's where we're going live right now on the Facebook
Okay.
side of things.
Cool.
Because some folks have commented on the live that we're watching there, so
Mm-hmm.
you can comment in there. And
Absolutely.
thanks everyone for joining us, and for the folks that joined us live or catching us on the replay. We will see you next time on Coffee with Regina. Bye for
Thank
now.
you. Bye-bye.